In this program, we'll show you how to install your Ride-Rite air helper springs. Every vehicle may have different mounting instructions and tool requirements due to different frames and mounting points. Firestone air spring kits are designed to be easily installed using clear instructions. Be sure to review all the instructions that came with your Ride-Rite kit before installation. In addition, please take all necessary safety precautions. Park your vehicle on a solid, level surface and chock the front wheels. Use jack stands rated for your vehicle's weight. Be sure to disconnect the negative battery cable before any work is started. For the installation, we will be using a no-drill kit. Firestone offers no-drill kits for many vehicles. No-drill kits let you use factory holes and can be installed in half the time or less versus a kit that would require drilling holes in the frame. Prior to mounting the air springs to the vehicle, most kits allow for some pre-assembly. In this case, we'll be installing the springs onto the lower brackets. To pre-assemble the air spring bracket, first install the lower bracket onto the bottom of the air spring using the flathead bolt. Hand tighten for now. We'll tighten it fully once the spring assembly is on the axle. Repeat the steps for the other spring. If your vehicle is raised, support and raise the axle with axle stands. This reduces the distance between the vehicle frame and the axle, making it easier to mount your air spring. Before you can install your Ride-Rite air springs, you'll first need to remove the rubber jounce bumpers bolted to the frame above the rear axle. Before installing the upper bracket to the frame, insert the flathead bolt and spacer. Then, attach the upper bracket to the frame and tighten the bolt securely. Now take the right side air spring bracket assembly you've already put together and place it on the axle. The muffler is on the right side of our vehicle, so we'll place the heat shield on this spring. Use a hex nut to secure the spring to the upper bracket. Rotate the air spring so that the alignment pin is fully seated into the alignment hole on the top plate. And tighten the hex nut securely. Next, install the air fitting into the air combo stud. Tighten this securely so it engages the orange thread sealant. Place the bail clamp around the leaf stack U-bolts. Install the bail clamp to the lower bracket using the nuts. For now, just hand tighten the nuts. We'll tighten them securely later. Next, fasten the lower bracket to the axle with the axle strap, using the carriage bolts and nuts provided. Again, just hand tighten the nuts. Now, tighten all the lower bracket bolts. First, tighten the nuts on the bail clamp to draw the lower bracket evenly to the leaf spring stack. Next, tighten the axle strap nuts so the lower bracket rests on the axle. To finish securing the air spring assembly to the axle, tighten the lower bracket bolt to secure the spring in its proper position. Follow the same steps for the installation of the air spring on the driver's side of the vehicle. The next step is to install the airline tubing. Carefully uncoil the airline tubing to avoid any kinks or folds. Cut it into 2 equal lengths using a tubing cutter to ensure a square cut. Insert one end of the tubing into the airline fitting installed in the top of the air spring. Push the airline tubing into the fitting as far as possible. Included in most kits is a no-drill inflation valve bracket. Prior to mounting it on your vehicle, pre-assemble the inflation valves to the bracket. The cap contains a valve core wrench that can be used to tighten the valve core. Install the air inflation valve in a location where you can easily access the valve, and it will be protected during driving. Secure the bracket in place with the large nylon ties. Now, run the airline tubing from the air spring to the valve. Route it so it will avoid direct heat from the exhaust pipe and any sharp edges. Cut the airline to fit using a tubing cutter. And insert the end into the air inflation valve. Push the airline tubing into the fitting as far as possible. If your installation does require the airline to run near heat or past rough or sharp edges, place the thermal sleeve included in your kit over the tubing to protect it. Secure the airline tubing in place with the provided nylon ties. Install the airline tubing for the second spring following the same steps. Next, inflate your air springs to test for leaks. When inflating your air springs, add air pressure in small increments. The air spring inflates much faster than a tire since it requires much less air, so you'll want to check pressures frequently during inflation. Once the springs are inflated, check the fittings for air leaks. Spray a solution of soap and water on the fittings. If a leak is present, you'll see expanding bubbles around the leaking area. If you find a leak, let the pressure out of the line before repairs. If the leak is at the tubing connection, check that you have a square cut and that the tube is fully inserted into the fitting. If you find a leak where the air fitting screws into the spring, tighten the fitting another quarter turn and spray again to reassess. If you find a leak at the fill valve core, use the valve core wrench on the inflation valve cap to tighten the valve core. After any repairs, reinstall the tubing, reinflate the air springs, and check for leaks like before. Before you use your vehicle, make sure you have proper clearance around the air springs. With a load on your vehicle, you must have at least a half-inch clearance around the air springs. If your hand fits in between the air spring and any nearby parts, you have enough clearance. For Ride-Rite air helper springs load capacity versus air spring pressure values, refer to your installation guide. To prevent injury to yourself and damage to your vehicle, don't exceed the gross vehicle weight rating recommended by the manufacturer. You'll find this information in your vehicle's operating manual and the data plate on the driver's side door. If you have questions regarding the gross vehicle weight rating, contact your vehicle's dealership. In this program, you've seen how easy it is to install a Ride-Rite air helper spring kit. Keep in mind that every step is described in detail in the installation guide that came with your Ride-Rite kit. We also provide a website with information on all of our products. So from time to time, visit riderite.com for up-to-date resources and contact information. That's all there is to installing your Ride-Rite air springs. Now you're ready to haul your load in safety and comfort, thanks to your Firestone Ride-Rite air springs. From Firestone, the world's #1 air spring.